have set up the C block? And just
if you want to do that,
yes.
I will play a preliminary clip.
Okay, as in backgrounder or
no, just kind of just to show you the kind of the weird arrogance and screwiness of Sheryl Sandberg. She did a 15-minute interview with Judy, which was it was Judy asking very aggressive questions, and Sheryl, and it seemed like she was on drugs. She couldn't answer anything. She didn't answer anything, and she looks. I had to say this because I don't like to criticize people's appearance.
Oh, come on. This is television. Hold on. Now entering executive mode.
Well, it's not even that. She is she looks, I'm talking about gestalt, if anyone understands that. She's kind of a feeling about the way somebody presents themselves. She's almost a dead ringer for Bill Gates. She has this little squint. She's got pretty much the same kind of nose. She's got this little squint that Gates...
Stop there, because this is the thing I noticed, and I watched her also on the Today Show, which I have some clips from. Her nose is a pinched Michael Jackson bad nose job.
Bill Gates has a nose job, too.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense then. It's a bad job.
Well, she has... Well, yeah. Well, it doesn't fit her face, you're right. But she has this look in this sneery eyes that she doesn't even know she's doing. They're kind of squinting just a little bit in irritation.
Yes.
And then
you know what? It's a condescending irritation of, look, I'm listening to your question, but you're an idiot because I'm much more intelligent than you. I'm just going to wait until you ask your rinkety. That's what's going on in her head, I think.
I think so too, because you can see it.
Yeah.
And Bill used to do that.
Exactly.
When he was running Microsoft, he'd have that look, and then he'd have a snide remark. Bill smiled more. But this woman does the same thing. Bill would do.
And when Bill smiled, it's kind of disarming.
Well, it's always inappropriate. It's always just out in the middle of nowhere. He learned that from somebody to just flash a smile for no good reason right in the middle of a sentence. But she doesn't quite have that down. But she's got something similar. But she's got this soft kind of voice that just doesn't really want to say anything, and she uses a lot of buzzwords from Silicon Valley. So I clipped that 15 minutes that she spoke, or 13 and a half minutes actually, that she spoke with Judy. I clipped it down to 45 seconds just to give you a feeling for her.
Well, let's be clear what happened here. In this case, we had a feature that enabled you to find your friends. You could find your friends by their name or their email or their phone number. Well, this plays into the overall situation we're in. I'm really sorry for that, and Mark's really sorry. I'm really sorry for that, and Mark's really sorry. When we saw specific problems, we shut those specific problems down. The questions on this election, they are big and they are deep. Trust is a really important thing. You're asking a really important question. And, you know, for me personally, the fact that people would not trust us, I take responsibility for that, and that hits hard. We're taking a proactive approach. It's a critical question, and I'm glad you asked. Well, we made big mistakes, and we know that, and I think it really is that we were very focused on social experiences.
Yeah, you're right. She has a very Gates-esque, even her speech and her dead tone.
Yeah, dead tone.
Huh. Yeah, I caught her on. She was doing a lot of interviews, and NBC, the NBC News department, was sending out clips left and right to MSNBC, CNBC. Everybody had clips of Sandberg, and the interview was done by your girl. What's her name? Savannah Guthrie.
Can I just throw one thing in before I start playing these clips?
Of course,
because I'm still contemplating that little 45-second thing. I remember her when she was out with her book, Lean In. And
yes. Lean in, forward, lean forward, lean in. Lean forward, I thought. Maybe it's lean in. I don't know.
I think it was lean in. But she was a little livelier. She had a little more personality. She was a little more excitable. I think she's on Prozac or something.
I was just about to say that.
Because she'd be the type that would take it, because you have a good doctor, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And she could be strung out on that because it's probably pretty stressful. Also,
her husband just died, a couple of years ago was killed. I think he was killed.
Yeah, he was killed
in that resort. Yeah, no, he fell off the treadmill backwards and split his head open and died.
Yeah,
backwards.
Yeah, well, you'd face plant usually when
That's
you fill up.
Typically what I see on YouTube. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't see it backwards.
But she does sound like she's drugged up because she's got that kind of, I'm talking like, oh, no, everything's fine. And I feel sorry for people. And I take full responsibility for everything.
I'm just thinking of her, I would actually say Xanax.
Okay.
I think she's more, she's a Xanax girl. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, she's a bar a day.
A bar a day. All right, go.
All right, so Savannah Guthrie interviews Sheryl Sandberg, which is an interesting choice. As is witnessed by, and you can hear many of them, they had to hack this thing together. Then it was a 15-minute interview. I don't understand why, and it's just kind of where it got interesting. So I don't know if it was a question of, well, shoot, let's take that out. I don't want that in there, what I said, or if it was just to get through mumbling and bumbling from Savannah Guthrie. But there was really only one, and what I just scanning all the channels. The way the news media is picking this up is pure hatred for Facebook, Facebag stealing their money. Now, it's obvious. They stole their money from the elections. There was a lot of money that went into the Facebag.
I think that's a perfect. I think you'd have to be right on that analysis because the media does not like people stealing their money.
It's one of their least favorite things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of examples about how horrible and dangerous and just crazy it is to even be a part of Facebag. So I have a couple of those clips. We'll start first with under a minute. The most important question, which, and you heard this phrase everywhere, like we haven't been saying it since the inception of this show and before that. If something's free, you are the product. And, Savannah heard this too.
People say that we're the product. Our data, that's the product you're selling.
And that's not true. So here's how our business works. We don't sell data, ever. We do not give personal data to advertisers. People come onto Facebook, they want to do targeted ads, and that's really important for small business. But people...
Okay. First of all, we don't sell data ever. Although it was a very small little bit of news that we caught, where I think it was Zuckerberg who said we've affected, or a spokeshole said we have stopped doing business with, not Equifax. What's the other one?
It was the other one, Equus something or other.
Oh, that's Anyway, one of the FICO companies. So it seems unlikely to me that they weren't actually giving data. Maybe some type of roll up.
They were totally giving data. But the way she's looking at it just from the advertising perspective. That's what she's talking about.
She's also looking at it from a legal standpoint, where she's kind of wishy-washy. We never sell your data. No, you gave it away. But prior to 2014, the data was just up for grabs. Anyone could get it. The Obama administration had their entire, not the campaign in 2012 had the entire database, had everything.
Now I want to go back to Savannah's original question about we're the product.
Yeah.
This is a talking point because...
Of course.
Because her answer to the question, it really is not the answer to the question if you understand the question. And Savannah doesn't. So she just asked the question and accepted the answer. The real point about you're the product is not your data.
No.
It's not like, oh, here's my data.
Sell it.
You're going to sell it. No. The point is that you being the product, and I'll explain it. I've explained it before. But Savannah doesn't understand this because if she did, she'd realize that she's in the same business.
She might get a brain freeze if she realizes that.
Yeah. And when they say you're the product, it means the following. As a publisher or a broadcaster or a web service, you gather up a pile of users that all have a similar style, a similar background, a similar taste, a similar psychographic. You package them, and it's a virtual thing. You package them as a virtual thing and show the advertiser, say, look, this is who we have. We can sell you these people.
Yeah.
That's how you're the product. You're not the product because they're stealing your data. You're the product because you're a piece of a giant package that is presented virtually to an advertiser as something that they can buy, meaning they can advertise specifically to you. That is not understood by Savannah, I can assure you, and I don't think it's even explained in any way on any of these shows that are using "you're the product" as a talking point, which somehow crept into the conversation.
Well, I'm glad you rolled that out that way, because what's going on here is you ask this question and both sides win the question. We don't really want to expose the fact that we're packaging you like bad debt in the Great Recession. And we're selling you off.
It's exactly the same. It's a good analogy.
Yeah. So we don't really want you to know that, but FaceBag is really bad because they're selling your privacy, your data, and Sandberg then gets to come in and say, we didn't never sell data ever. So everybody looks good in this case. They both win, really. It's a chick collusion.
It's a chick collusion.
Chick collusion.
People say that we're the product. Our data, that's the product you're selling.
And that's not true. So here's how our business works. We don't sell data, ever. We do not give personal data.
By the way, it was Experian. That's who they were doing business with. They're definitely one of those companies. And you just explained how their business works. Now hear Sheryl Sandberg explain it.
We don't sell data, ever. We do not give personal data to advertisers. People come onto Facebook, they want to do targeted ads, and that's really important for small business. But people want to show ads. We take those ads, we show them, and then we don't pass any individual information back to the advertiser.
You don't have to pass it because you collect all the information and then you target the ads for the advertisers. That's the service that you charge the advertisers
That's
for.
right. And that's a very good service. That's a privacy protective good service.
Could you come up with a tool that said, I do not want Facebook to use my personal profile data to target me for advertising? Would you have an opt-out button? Please don't use my profile data for advertising.
We have different forms of opt-out. We don't have an opt-out at the highest level. That would be a paid product.
I love that. That's her talking point everywhere. That's not. No, if you want to opt out and don't give us your data, that's a paid product, which really explains exactly what they do. And I've heard that the APRU, the average, or the ARPU, the ARPU, the average revenue per user, I think is $25 a quarter.
Oh,
so $100 FaceBag is making off of me every year. That's real money.
That's a lot of money.
It's actually quite high, even by
now it's very
standards.
High.
Yeah,
but I think their targeting mechanism is the best.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But the way they've done this with this "you're the product" thing, and they switched it to not making any sense in the way that what it really means, which is what NBC does too. I thought it might even be subversive. It might be to get people off of the "you're the product" concept because they'll never fully understand it. Because no, I'm not the product because they're not selling my data. And
it kind of comes around beautifully by saying, "Hey, look, we give you ads, or else you have to pay." And I think people go, "Oh, okay, well, that's the easy one."
And them giving me ads has nothing to do with me being the product, because the real meta of me being the product is never explained. It's just corruption talking to corruption.
Yeah, we can't have the viewer actually understand what's going on here. That would be wrong. This is the former head of Google's G+. And he is, I think it was NPR, and he was talking about the data and the access to user data, etc. And I think being the former head of Google Plus may make him a little bit biased. It's not announced in this interview. It's just former Google guy, executive, but yeah, he was their direct competitor. Here's what he had to say about the data access or sale.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg will be facing tough questions when he appears before Congress in the coming days. At the top of the list, the scandal involving Cambridge Analytica. That's the company that's been accused of improperly obtaining data from millions of Facebook users. then using that information for its work on political campaigns, reportedly including the Trump campaign. Let's hear now from someone with a long history in Silicon Valley, Yonatan Zunger. The former Google engineer recently wrote in the Boston Globe that this scandal is just more evidence that the entire tech industry faces an ethical crisis.
The method by which Cambridge Analytica got the data from Facebook was a system Facebook built almost specifically for the purpose of making it easy for companies to harvest information about networks of individuals.
Right, and you write that over and over again throughout history and also in recent years in the tech field, companies work on something with a specific intention and then the product is used with only a slightly degree off from that intention in a way that nobody thought about and causes a lot of harm.
Absolutely. Something I always tell people is that any idiot can build a system, any amateur can make it perform. Professionals think about how a system will fail. It's very common for people to think about how a system will work if it's used the way they imagine it, but they don't think about how that system might work if it were used by a bad actor, or it could be used by just a perfectly ordinary person who's just a little different from what the person designing it is like.
Conclusion? Those face bag guys are no good. We Googlers, we're smart. We're much smart. We think about both sides of the equation. And I'm sure he did just that, with Google+, and that's why it failed.
That's probably exactly why
That's exactly what happened. Here is Representative Ro Khanna, who was very upset about what FaceBag is doing.
So what do you want to hear from Mark Zuckerberg this week? What questions do you think he needs to answer?
Am I the product? That would be the question I'd have. Hey, Zuck, am I the product?
Well, I'm glad he's testifying. I'm glad he's doing media interviews, and I hope he will come out for well-crafted regulations. I personally have advocated that we need an Internet Bill of Rights. It's time that tech leaders like Zuckerberg embrace that, including a right to know what your data is, a right to be able to transfer your data, a right to be able to delete your data. There are a number of common sense provisions that we need enshrined into law.
And when you say common sense, he means, we're never going to do anything. But it does kind of dovetail, and there's more to this clip, it does kind of dovetail into the GDPR, which kicks off this month, the Global Data Protection Rules, which pertain to the EU mainly, but they have the G word in there, meaning global. And this is harmonization of the universe. This is harmonization. This is the Trilateral Commission, John.
Do you think there's room, especially in an election year, to get something passed that deals with this?
I absolutely think there is. The reason is that even Republicans and libertarians will support, I believe, an individual's right to privacy, to their own data. This is a case where technology has moved lightning fast and the laws haven't caught up. There should be some common sense principles that will assure the American public that their rights are going to be protected online.
Uh-huh. Both political parties have long embraced Silicon Valley, and you yourself got a lot of key endorsements from tech figures, including Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg. But from the beginning, the whole point of social media was to monetize people's personal data. And in recent years, campaigns have done a lot of bragging about how efficiently they can micro-target voters. So what's changed here?
Yeah,
well,
really.
I'm still very proud of representing Silicon Valley, proud of having Sheryl support. Mm-hmm. And I think she can play a very constructive role now in articulating the right type of regulation that we need. I guess what I'd say is I still believe in the power of social media. The Parkland kids are using Facebook Live to get their message out and mobilize, and Twitter to help mobilize. And
what he means to say is, I'm so happy with the power of the face bag is where our stooges who have all these crazy nonprofits can hypnotize children, turn them into zombies, and mobilize them through social media. That's what he's really saying. This is a fantastic tool.
Social.
Relating the right type of regulation that we need. I guess what I'd say is I still believe in the power of social media. The Parkland kids are using Facebook Live to get their message out and mobilize, and Twitter to help mobilize a new generation. It would be wrong to say, let's not have social media when the next generation is being inspired politically by it. Yeah. But what 2016 showed us is that these technologies can be very dangerous if they are abused.
Very dangerous. I love the arrogance of this prick by saying, well, we shouldn't just outlaw it, but because that's what we can do, because that's, I'm a representative here, and so it's very, very dangerous if done the wrong way. You're full of crap. This guy's a douche.
He is.
Now, we've been following this, and I have the act in front of me. Regulation will be required.
Facebook will require authorization for the purchase of any issue-related ads and authentication of pages with tens of thousands of followers. Facebook is still working out the details of how it will authenticate and authorize. Mark Zuckerberg writing, quote, "These steps by themselves won't stop all people trying to game the system, but they will make it a lot harder for anyone to do what the Russians did during the 2016 election and to use fake accounts and pages to run ads. Consumers can expect a lot more disclosures identifying political and issue ads, as well as information about who paid for them. This, of course, as Facebook rushes out a range of changes ahead of Zuckerberg's testimony next week, its latest attempt to show policymakers that it has the platform under control.
Yeah. So they're ahead of the game. They know exactly what's coming down. So they're trying to get, look good and have everything all set, because what is coming up now is the Honest Ads Act. Yeah, this is the one. And this is Warner and McCain and Klobuchar. So this is bipartisan. And I just need
Warner's an asshole. Klobuchar's an asshole.
Yeah.
And McCain, well, hey, it's a trifecta.
it's a trasshole. This is the Honest Ads Act, and the purpose of this act is to enhance the integrity of American democracy and national security by improving disclosure requirements for online political advertisements. And, so the actual law is not that interesting, but the findings of Congress are quite interesting. They also define some things for us. In the preamble of findings, Moscow's influence campaign followed a Russian messaging strategy that blends covert intelligence operations such as cyber activity with overt efforts by Russian government agencies, state-funded media, third-party intermediaries, and paid social media users or trolls.
Oh.
They've redefined troll.
Hey, next time somebody calls me a troll, I want to know where my check is.
Yeah, I mean, they've redefined troll right there.
They redefined it. You have to be paid.
Well, actually, the media redefined it for us. Then they go into they had some research done by, let's see, the Computational Propaganda Research Project at Oxford Internet Institute. Jeez. Who found that the Kremlin, I don't know, who found that the Kremlin is using pro-Russian bots. Like, oh, look at that bot.
I'm a bot. I love Russia. I'm a bot. I love Russia. It's a pro-Russian bot. The bot actually, is there such a thing as a bot with some sort of political preference?
Yeah, he's pro-Russian.
I'm a bot and I think for myself.
That's the fear.
Bull crap.
That's the fear, is that the bots will eventually start thinking for themselves. But yeah, this is, you can't write this. If we would have said write something funny about
bot.
Yeah.
I'm a bot. What do you want me to think?
So they found that the Kremlin is using pro-Russian bots to manipulate public disclosure to a highly targeted audience. Listen to this marketing jargon. With a sample of nearly 1,300,000 tweets, researchers found that in the 2016 elections, 3 decisive states, propaganda constituted 40% of the sampled election-related tweets that went to Pennsylvanians, 34% to Michigan voters, and 30% to those in Wisconsin. This is pretty well-defined numbers here. I'm not quite sure how they did that. But anyway.
I don't know how you do that either. How do you know if somebody's in Wisconsin?
You got to be at the Oxford Internet Institute to know this stuff.
I see just Sam Adams, at Sam Adams, and he says, I'm a teacher and a professor, and I like to plant weeds. And then it doesn't usually say where you're from. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I've got West Coast as my location.
But also, isn't it interesting that Facebag is under attack, yet this document here is about Twitter.
Yeah.
Now, this is just these numbers are very interesting. On September 6, 2017, the nation's largest social media platform disclosed that between June, Russian entities purchased $100,000 in political advertisements,
holy mackerel!
Publishing roughly 3,000 ads linked to fake accounts associated with the Internet Research Agency, a pro-Kremlin organization. which according to the company, the ads purchase focused on, quote, amplifying divisive social and political messages. But what's interesting, just a little bit further down, is according to a study from Burrell Associates in 2016, that is this most recent election. Well, I'm going to ask you, and I ask John, how much money was spent in online advertising across the entire spectrum, all parties, all candidates?
$250 million.
That's low, man. You ready for this? $1.4 billion.
$1.4 billion online?
Yep.
And so, but the Russians with their $100,000 were the cheesy ads that were more laughable than they were advertising. They swung the election. People are wasting their money.
Well, okay. So what they're changing now in this law, I'll just give you that little piece here, is they strike out in the Federal Election Campaign Act of 1971.
Hold on a second. Stop. Let's go back and contemplate this a little more. $1.4 billion online.
Yes.
So this has got to really gall Les Moonves.
Yes.
ABC and NBC, all the radio stations, and probably some of the big newspapers, although they have an online presence and they could probably benefit from some of that. But I don't think CBS really made a killing on online.
No.
This is I don't believe that number, but anyway,
yeah, I mean, we have reason to believe the 34% propaganda in Wisconsin. I mean, come on, it's the Internet Research Agency of Oxford, Cambridge, something British.
Yeah, it's
British.
But
it's British. It's authoritarian. So the law.
Right, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, I'll just finish this up. The law is amended this act by striking or satellite communication and inserting satellite, paid internet, or paid digital communication. And then a little further on, they're going to strike on broadcast stations or a newspaper, blah, blah, and then change it to in any public communication. And then finally, they will be inserting the clause, any news story, commentary, editorial distributed through the facilities of any broadcasting station or any print, online, or digital newspaper, magazine, blog, publication, periodical, unless broadcasting, print, online, digital facilities are owned or controlled by any political party, political candidate, committee, etc. So they really, you're going to have to disclose, if you have anything to do with political money, you're going to have to disclose it. And they also want commentary and editorials to disclose.
Well, that's probably a plus.
Yeah, for us it is, yes. But I think a lot of people may be like, hold on a second. But here's the funny thing. This is a guy from the Daily Standard. Is that a right-wing job, the Daily Standard?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he draws some obvious conclusions. Here we go.
Is this the beginning of a watershed moment for big tech?
I think so, and I don't think necessarily for the obvious reasons. I think there's two big threats to Facebook right now. One is that people will stop using the social media company. We're beginning to see that a little bit, and we were beginning to see that before any of this all happened. The other threat, I think, for Facebook in particular, is that the data, which is their currency, Facebook is basically an ad company, so what they sell is ads, and how they sell it is because people voluntarily use that company. So I think the other threat is that that these ads basically don't work, and that I think the Cambridge Analytica leak, I think it's obviously detrimental to the company, but I think it's mostly detrimental because I think it shows that those ads didn't actually work as effectively as perhaps promised, and that I think poses a huge existential threat to the company as it stands currently.
You say the words Cambridge Analytica, and that is closely and understandably linked to the Trump campaign and President Trump's victory in the 2016 election. How much of this outrage you think stems from the political consequences versus the goodness of politicians who want to protect all of us from big tech?
I think most of this current outrage is for that reason exactly, is political expediency. I think a lot of people, especially on the political left, have been searching desperately to try to explain the election of Donald Trump. They don't know how Donald Trump got elected. And here they have apparently found another reason. Well, it's Facebook. Facebook was giving unfettered access to this Cambridge Analytica, which was then targeting people with ads, and that must be how Donald Trump won. I'm suggesting something else, that the ads didn't really have any effect on anybody.
What evidence do you have? What evidence do you have for the theory that the ads didn't work and thus Facebook ad sales are going to plummet?
There's been great articles, particularly one in Mother Jones, showing that Cambridge Analytica basically didn't know what they were doing at all, and they were basically selling bunk to all these campaigns. They tried it with the Ted Cruz campaign. They tried it to the Ben Carson campaign. Incidentally, one of the people who didn't fall for it was Trump, at one point, campaign manager Paul Manafort, who, of course, we know for other reasons, and he thought the whole thing was garbage. It was pushed on them by donors, and so they felt like they had to use it, the Trump campaign. But there's no evidence at all that it actually did work, and I think it's incumbent on people to make the argument that it did work rather than people to disprove a negative.
Well, that will be interesting to see how much that comes out in these hearings. Mark Zuckerberg up on the Hill coming up next week, and we also will hear from him probably in the coming days as well. We heard from him a couple days ago, too. Daniel Halper, appreciate it as always.
That's actually yes.
Well, a couple of things to this guy. This is the worst. Who's that guy who was interviewing this character who was offbeat? The guy didn't have the right questions. Big tech is not Facebook to me. How's big tech? Big tech is Intel. Big tech is Apple. Big tech is anything but Facebook.
Is Amazon big tech?
No, it's a big retailer.
No, I think Amazon is a big tech company. They provide AWS.
Okay, with AWS. Okay, you're right. They became a big tech
FaceBag is part of FANG. FANG. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. FANG.
No, it is. It's categorized with them, but it's not to me. It's a social media company. It's not it's a company that sells advertising to make a living. It doesn't sell product. A tech company to me has a product to sell. AWS is a product that people can subscribe to. You can go on there and you get your web space or your storage space.
Your blog.
You get your blog up there. But this is nonsense. So he starts off with a bad premise. Big tech. Is big tech going to suffer? And then he says the ads don't work. When the ads do work, those ads do work. But he says, why? How don't they work? And he says his example is because Cambridge Analytica didn't know what they were doing. How does not knowing what you're doing have anything to do with it not working? If you don't know what you're doing, how can you make a judgment about whether the product works or not? It makes no sense. This was an idiotic interview with a moron.
No, I'm glad you liked it.
What were you supposed to get out of it?
Another meme.
Okay.
I think the meme is solid.
Where'd you get this from?
It might be Fox Business. I mean, that host sounded like one of those people. I think the meme is solid. You know, this is the one thing Zuckerberg doesn't want to come out of this testimony is, you know, so did Donald Trump get elected because of FaceBag or not? Of course, he wants everyone to think the answer is yes, but he doesn't want to be.
Oh no, it's a dilemma.
Yes, yeah. Dilemma is the correct word. Yes.
If he did get elected because of the $100,000 worth of ads, that means those ads were beyond effective.
Right.
So he has to try to get that message across without. I don't know how he's going to do. This is a tightrope walk for him.
Yeah. And meanwhile,
and you got guys like this going on about big tech being hurt, but it just.
Well, would you do me a favor and would you just keep an eye out on the broadcast networks how they're discussing FaceBag? Because
well, after Tuesday we're going to know a lot more.
No, this is true. Yeah, but most importantly is how will it be presented to the consumer? Because
it has to.
The media can hammer this shit onto regular Joes.
They're going to have to. I think your initial theory, which I really forgot to even consider, the theory that the networks in particular don't like Facebook. They like to use it and maybe they take some advantage of it. But then when they start thinking about
especially not the $1.4 billion number.
Yes, and they're saying this is money. You're right. This is money that is being stolen the way they see it.
Yep.
Stolen from us. We're the rightful owners of this money.
Give it to us. All your base belong to me.
You're taking.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to respond positively. So they're going to keep slamming Facebook.
All right. So that's what I want you to keep an eye on.
I'm sure I can find plenty of examples.